Happy Monday. In today's podcast episode with Gary Lezak, we are chatting all things weather pattern. What is going to be happening and what are our kind of initial thoughts? We discuss the drought conditions that we're kind of seeing right now and some early predictors that we're kind of discussing as far as the LRC and everything that is setting up there goes. If you are new to listening to Gary and I's weekly episodes, Gary has a patent pending program called the LRC, that Lezak Recurring Cycle, where Gary has seen this reoccurring weather pattern in each single year. So over the past year, Gary and I have been discussing the weather pattern and what is happening each week within that weather pattern. Well, right now that weather pattern is setting up. So right now, Gary is doing all of this analysis on what the weather pattern is showing and then how this weather pattern is going to then take this prediction and flow throughout the rest of winter and then the rest of next year as well. So we're in the midst of that setting up. So Gary kind of breaks all of that down for us today and what we can kind of expect and some of his early predictors, things that he's seen as well, and then what we can expect from him over the next few weeks as well. Before we hop into this episode, if you're watching on YouTube, make sure that you are subscribed to our channel and that you like this episode. If you are listening on any of our podcast platforms, make sure that you're following the show and go take a second to rate and review it as well. Let's go ahead and hear from Gary Lezak. Gary, welcome back to the podcast. How are you?
I am well. How are you doing?
I am doing great. We were both just talking about how crazy life is these days and how busy November is. I can't believe we are already over halfway through November. I had someone say that the other day and I was like, oh gosh, calm down, guys. Calm down. It was just Halloween the other day. Like, it can't already be halfway through November.
Slow down. Stop and smell the roses, Lauren.
I know. Time is going by way too quickly these days, I tell you what. But yes, crazy over here. Crazy busy. We're about to leave for a big trip, but all great. It's all the great kind of busy, right?
I love it. Yeah, that's exciting. So have a good trip. And weather-wise, things are changing as well. Mid-November is a period of time when I would often be forced by my bosses at the TV stations to issue my winter forecast when I really just needed to wait. But it's sweeps. Sweeps means that's when ratings are counted most often, not anymore as strongly as it was back earlier in my career, but that's why we did it in mid-November. And it would always be the highest rated night. All right. So for like 5 years in a row, the winter forecast, when we positioned it right, was the highest rated night for us. So that's exciting, but we're not issuing our winter forecast for 2 more weeks. The first week of December will be when we issue our winter forecast. So we'll do a preliminary forecast of that right here on this podcast that week, and maybe the full version, but still analyzing this weather pattern that's setting up. It's interesting, Lauren. Have you noticed anything so far this season?
It's been a little dry here in Manhattan. We had that early rain spell where we kind of got some moisture for a couple weeks, but we haven't really seen anything recently, which I know we talked about last week, some drought concern and all of those things. So definitely a little worried about that. It has been abnormally warm here in Kansas recently as well. So Curious to hear your thoughts on that, on whether or not we have a cold winter coming, a hot winter, a long winter, a short winter, all of those things as well. But it's been interesting to kind of sit back and observe.
Right. One thing we know for sure, winter is coming. And if you are a student looking at the social media posts from meteorologists and scientists the last 2-3 weeks, you may have seen this one term called sudden stratospheric warming. The atmosphere of the stratosphere is showing signs that it's going to warm suddenly and cause an Arctic air mass to develop. I wrote an article on LinkedIn and just posted it on Facebook as well, and it's on YouTube as well. And I think it's the exact opposite of what they think. It isn't sudden stratospheric warming. So another one of those concepts that meteorologists and scientists are lying to you about, I believe. Okay, now I'm challenging my peers on this. What happens is an Arctic air mass will form and it'll get very cold, and it may happen in the next 2 or 3 weeks. We'll see. Some models have it, some don't. But a brutally cold air mass forms near the surface at the ground. And when it gets very cold, like instead of 0 degrees, it's minus 40 degrees, minus 50 degrees in Canada, and this cold air mass expands, the stratosphere drops in response to that cold air forming. So instead of calling it sudden stratospheric warming, it should be called, I'm proposing, sudden stratospheric lowering, because the atmosphere in the stratosphere, nothing happens there. It is stable. And so everything's happening below. So anyway, my point is, it is a overhyped thing that's going on for 2 to 3 weeks. They've been threatening this is happening, it's going to turn brutally cold, but it just stays warm over and over and over again. I mean, eventually, it's going to turn cold. So when we're looking at the forecast for the winter, we look and see what has been happening so far. And from October to November the 18th, it has been very wet over California, Nevada, Arizona, extending up across Wyoming, Montana, and North Dakota. So that's the first sign that that area likely is going to be near what we call an anchor trough and have above average precipitation and an above average number of storm systems. Across the dairy farms, the corn belt and wheat regions from South Dakota, southeast Wyoming, eastern half of Colorado, and then across Minnesota, Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, Missouri, Kansas, Oklahoma, Texas. That entire area has had drier than average precipitation so far this season. So there's a concern right now that could be a trend for the entire winter and into next spring. We still need a little more time, so let's give it 3 more weeks and see what happens. What happens in the next 3 weeks is still highly important. Another thing to look at, what has happened temperature-wise? It has been warmer than average over the entire nation, with the exception of around New York to the mid-Atlantic states down to Florida, where it's been slightly colder than average. But from the Ohio Valley west to California, and from North Dakota down to South Texas, it has been above to much above average temperatures. So that doesn't mean it's going to be a very warm winter, but that's something to keep in mind. That's what has been happening for the first 35, 40 days, 45 days of this weather pattern that has set up. So I'm concerned too, Lauren. It looks like it could be dry and a problem for the growing season ahead, but I haven't made that call yet. There's hints of that right now.
Yeah, definitely something that a lot of farmers and ranchers are keeping their eye on right now because, I mean, obviously, as you know, Gary, we've been battling growing and shrinking and growing and shrinking droughts here in the Midwest for a really long time. Like, this isn't anything new. That is why we have the cattle market that we do right now. We had some drought hit a few years back, and a lot of people sold and liquidated and different things like that because we just didn't have the grass availability. And we really haven't had. We've been blessed this year here in Kansas. We've had some time where we've been able to recuperate some of that grassland and bring back some of that native land that and the grass to where it was 10 years ago. But we've had a lot of areas that are still really struggling with drought, and they just have not caught a break. And so I know that drought is definitely a concern. And for a lot of us, we care about having a pretty wet winter because having a wet winter means that we have moisture in the ground when it comes to growing season, whether that be for crops or whether it be for just our pasture land as we go into the spring as well. So definitely a concern we're all keeping our eye on.
The wet winter is definitely that would get some moisture into the soil to begin spring. And then the timing of the rain as soon as we get to the growing season. And that's what we do with Weather 2020. We can go week by week and showcase which weeks are likely to be wet, which weeks are likely to be dry. And we have that in our Weather 2020 dashboard. Will be updated in about 2 weeks, and we'll start looking into the growing season. But yeah, the winter moisture is going to be important to track. Right now, there is some concerns there, so we'll monitor it. Here in Golden, Colorado, it hasn't snowed yet.
Wow.
And so in Boulder, the latest first snow that's been tracked by a friend of mine who does readings there since 1990, so in the last 35 years, the latest first snow was November 17th. So we've gone past that. This is now the
Wow.
latest snow since 1990. And he looked back at the records in the past, and the people swear that some of those late snows that were later than that, it snowed in October. They just didn't accumulate much. So they didn't record it. But so this is one of the latest snows ever. The ski areas have 10% of their snowpack. So 10% of the snowpack, it's mid-November. Let's see what happens in about 2 or 3 weeks. But if it continues in 50% or less, right now it's at 10%, that would mean Breckenridge, instead of getting 350 inches of snow this winter, they'll get 150 inches or 200 inches of snow. They're still going to get snow up there. It just happens. It's not that hard to snow during the winter, even in dry patterns. But that's a concern, and that's a concern for fire season next year, because that means Colorado would be prone to big fires. I've been here for 2 years, and there have been no fires pretty much, but I don't want that. That would be horrible.
Yeah, definitely. I'm very curious to see in these next like 3 weeks, that first week of December, when we're able to talk about the weather pattern and kind of what you've been seeing. I'm very curious to see what we're kind of thinking for the rest of the year, because when we first started having these discussions in early October, when the weather pattern was setting up, we were wet here in Kansas. We were having like pretty consistent for a week and a half, almost 2 weeks. Every single day we were having at least a little bit of rain, some drizzles. If not, like, it was looking pretty good as far as moisture was concerned. But then these next few weeks have been, oh my gosh, just dry and then abnormally warm and all of these things, which, I mean, I'm not really complaining quite yet about it being warm still. I could do with like, we can maybe move from highs in the 70s to like highs in the 50s and 60s here in Kansas, and I'd be content. But there have been so many years where we have just skipped right from 80 degrees to 20 degrees with nothing in between. So I'm trying to soak it in I can and enjoy the fact that like I can still walk the dogs outside without having my heavy coat on. Gary, last week I did get my heated vest out, and I'm wearing my heated vest over my sweatshirts in the morning because it's like still in the 30s and 40s in the morning. So I did get that out, but no heavy coat yet.
Wait. You have what's called a heated vest?
Oh yeah.
I've never heard of that.
Game changer. Oh my gosh.
Well, do you have to plug it in?
No. So, well, it has like a little plug-in thing on the inside of it, but you just plug it into a portable charger. And so they come with portable chargers, and you just recharge the portable charger, and then it's got a little button right here, and you just turn it on, and then it's got like these wires throughout it that heat it. And so they've got heated vests, they've got heated jackets. My husband has heated socks for when he goes hunting. He says those are a game changer. They make like heated pants. They make heated everything these days, which is
I like it.
Absolutely bonkers. But a heated vest, I think, is superior because I am one of those people that like, I just want my torso to be warm. My arms, I'm typically pretty good there. Like my arms are probably the first thing to start sweating most of the time. Yeah. So like, and right now I'm just walking out with just a crew neck sweatshirt on and then a heated vest, and I am comfortable for hours and not having to shed and take on and off layers. So I think heated vests are superior to heated jackets, but they're all really great. You definitely look into them.
I definitely didn't need that when I was at the Chiefs-Broncos game. I got tickets. Brett Veach is the general manager of the Chiefs, and he came through on Thursday. He said a couple people backed out and they're not going to Denver. Would I like the tickets? And I'm like, where are the seats? I actually asked them. They said they're my seats. They're like near the 50-yard line. I'm like, okay. Can I get a parking pass? I got a parking pass too. So anyway, I went to the game. I was in enemy territory. It was crazy, crazy, crazy. Bronco fans out there, congratulations. It was very, very tough. My partner, Andy, is somewhat of a Broncos fan now. And so we're a house divided, I guess. It's not that good. And he said, when I got home, I'm so sorry but it was a great game, don't you think? I go, no. It was not a great game. I mean, when you lose at the end, I'm sorry, it was not a great game. I mean, anyway, Chiefs are in trouble.
The Chiefs are in trouble.
But the weather was 72 degrees.
Which is crazy.
In Denver. So, things are about to change. It can't stay warm forever. So, next week, when we talk, we'll likely be talking about a cold air mass developing Thanksgiving week. So, you have a good trip, and we'll talk next week as we learn more. And then we'll be within about a week and a half of issuing that winter forecast.
Absolutely. A very exciting time around here for sure. Well, Gary, as always, thank you for your time. Thank you for your insight. To all of our listeners out there, if you want to hear more about anything Gary and I chatted about today, make sure you check out the links in the show notes down below so that you can check out all of those links to either Gary's platforms or the Weather 2020 website, where we have an exclusive discount for you guys as Cattle USA listeners as well. Gary, thank you for your time. To all of our listeners, we will see you all next time on another episode. Have a good one, y'all.